Okay, that's great. I think that you hear me well. So we are starting today's presentation where I'm going to speak about ruling reality in conflict. I'm going also to share my screen for you. So that also you are going to be able to see the presentation. So the idea is how to rule reality in conflict. It is very important because most of us always think about the best conditions when we speak about a reality, when we speak about management, and we as human beings are not willing to perceive that reality is much more different than what we think it is. In our mind, we are non-stop thinking about that reality is something that is different than what it actually is. And that's why I want to be able to deepen the knowledge that you have regarding reality and to understand that reality is not like your imaginations that you have in your head. So I'm going to make a webinar on 17th of August regarding how to rule reality in conflict. And this is just a preview so that all of you just know what the webinar is going to be about long term. So I'm Alexander Armenkov. I'm a ruling reality coach, and I help those of you that are willing to understand reality and to understand how to rule it on a daily basis, not what is in your mind only, not to be a mindset guy, not to be someone that is just imagining reality, but someone that actually understands and is interacting daily with reality. So what is conflict and why conflict exists in reality? Well, Alex, this is not true. What is the meaning of conflict? There are no wars. There have not been wars for 70 or 80 years. And in the future, we will not have conflicts. We are going to have a very interesting future where conflicts are going to stop and we are just going to live in eternal bliss and we are going to live in some very utopian humanity. But let's start with reality and how reality is constructed. What is the origin of conflict? This is something that we are going to realize during this webinar that is going to be on the 17th of August this month, and we are going to deep dive into it. So we are going to learn what is the origin of conflict, then what is our positioning as border zone creatures, because if conflict exists, why we, the human beings, are put in the specific positioning in reality. Then I'm going to explain you the two most basic tendencies of conflict resolution at any level in reality. And then I'm going to explain you why love is so important and why everybody is speaking to you about unconditional love, or everybody, even if they don't understand, they are telling that love is the answer. But why and to what love is the answer? This is the most important thing. So we are going to deep dive now into these 4 questions about conflict in reality. The origin of conflict. When is the conflict started? Well, all of us know that if we exist, if reality is here, there should have been a creation. Nothing has been, but just something happened. You can call it a big bang. Some people have different ideas. Nobody can give you the exact think what is happening, but now we're thinking about the concept and when conflict actually appeared in reality and why reality cannot exist without conflict. Even if you think about the word creation, the opposite of creation is destruction. So duality in reality exists from the beginning, but it is very important to understand as a human being why conflict exists and how to manage it and how to rule your reality during these conflict periods and zones. In the beginning, we had creation, but if there is a beginning, there should be an end. There is destruction. So creation and destruction cycles are normal for reality. I know a lot of us don't want to think in this way. We are not willing to move into this direction and to think in creation and destruction cycles. But almost in all religions, this is normal practice. I know that our mind wants to think only in one direction. We don't want to accept some things about reality, but they exist. When you see the seasons, you see the winter, the summer, you have when the nature is reviving again in the spring, then in the autumn and winter it is dying. So there are different ideas in reality which are showing us that there are cycles. We see cycles in economy, we see cycles in nature, and also in your personal reality, in my personal reality, there are cycles. So we need to learn how to work with these conflicts and to understand that there are some things that we cannot manage in reality, but we can be positioned at the right place. So if you are wondering what is the origin of conflict and can it be obliterated, the answer is no. Conflict exists because life exists. So in order life to be present, that is to be possible. Have you ever wondered why actually we as human beings are experiencing life, and from the moment of our awareness and consciousness, we know that there is going to be death also. And death and life are always present in our reality. This is also a conflict, but this is also part of why life is there. So if there is a creator of this creation, this creator should be allowing destruction to exist, because otherwise creation is not possible. So in order something to start, in order our mutual reality to exist, there should be the possibility for creation and destruction. Conflict needs to exist in order reality to exist. Yes, I know that we, the human beings, we don't want to accept this, and we don't want this to be the story, but actually, if long term we are saying, well, Alex, where is the beneficial universe? Where is actually the friendliness of the universe? And the only option is if the creator provides impossible solution in order life to exist long term and not to go into creation and destruction cycles nonstop. Then with creation, destruction solution is presented by the Savior. Have you ever wondered why this picture and why this idea and why this story that there should be in existence also somebody who is able to destroy this conflict of life and death cycle, of creation and destruction cycle, and there should be a possibility for such a figure to exist? It doesn't matter if you destruct your reality and say, well, Alex, I don't believe in God's impersonality. I want only you to show me the reality construct. What I'm telling you right now, it is impossible for life to exist, for the death and life cycle to exist, if there is no long-term solution. And that is why more of the religion is giving the solution by the figure of Savior, Messiah, and so on. There should be something that is making reality to have a possibility to non-stop exist. Just imagine for a moment that you are the creator of everything. How are you going to destroy the conflict? Well, Alex, I know the answer. I'm just not going to create any conflict. I'm just going to start and never end. Then the problem is that actually you are limiting some possibilities. Immediately when reality starts to exist, when creation starts, immediately you need to show the possibilities of everything and no limitations. After you create, you immediately create limit. And if you create limit and you don't have the ability to create long-term limitlessness, then there is a problem. That's why it is not possible, life and reality, to exist without conflict, without the duality. But then the long-term solution for duality, it is the impossible solution with a savior, and you will see long-term what is the human solution. And this is very important because this fundament is going to help you in all areas of your life. So in order to obliterate the conflict, there should be a transmutation of destruction by the death and the resurrection. Because if you are possible to change the part of the death, you have creation, then you have the death cycle, and then how is it possible you to come again into creation mode if you cannot and are not able to work also with resurrection? And how is it possible to destroy the death and the cycle? It is possible only through love. Now you're going to see the fundamental of why love is so important in destroying and understanding how in your all areas of life to transmutate the conflicts. So we are border zone creatures. And as a border zone creatures, immediately what we realize from the story of creation in the Bible and other religions is that it was given an option for every one of us to know good and evil, to understand duality. Till we don't understand the distinctions, we cannot be conscious human beings that are able to actually participate in life with awareness and consciousness. Then immediately when this is presented to us, a lot of people think that actually humanity made a bad choice when it decided to know good and evil. But actually in this way, humanity made the decision to become conscious beings and to be long-term as the creator. And of course, in the reality, long-term, you're going to understand how we, the human beings, are co-creators in reality. And that's why we are made in the image of the creator. So on a basic level, life exists because of the borders. If there are no border created, then there is not going to be space. In order space to exist, there need to be something that is holding. So if we are border zone creatures, we need to understand long-term what is the meaning of we, the human beings, being a warrior, and warrior of what? Because if there is a conflict, if we take sides, for example, well, Alex, I don't know what is good, I'm not sure what is evil, and if I now take one position, all of us, humanity, okay, we are going to say, well, we are on the side of the good. But what is good and what is evil, nobody can really understand so simply. That's why consciousness and awareness are there for humanity to long-term make these distinguishes, but also the most important thing is that in order to interact in reality, you need to know that every day you are going to experience conflicts in the different areas of your life. So it is important to understand that there is the saying in the quadrant number 1, I'm going to explain you what are the quadrants, nothing to defend. If you are a human being living in a friendly universe, then nobody is asking from you to defend. But Alex, you just told us that we need to be warriors. And as you are suggesting, warriors of good. Where is our enemy? We want to have enemy. We want to be warriors for the good. But then there is the problem, because actually it is the paradox that a lot of us are just willing to obliterate the borders and let good and evil just to be one thing. And then we want to obliterate the space. We want to obliterate everything. We just want, as human beings, to experience oneness. We don't want to differentiate good, evil. We don't want these borders. We want to destroy all the borders, to obliterate them. But actually, the paradox of life is that we need to do just the opposite. If we need to resist something in life, we are necessary to resist actually everything and every movement that is against obliterating borders, because the border zone creatures, as we are, we need the borders in order life to be sustained. So nothing to conquer. But Alex, I think that we, the human beings, need to do as the Catholic Church did in the past, and we need to conquer the world for good. If we just define as human beings what is good, we are going to conquer everything and only good is going to exist. There is a big problem there, because nobody can define the good. And now the new solution is that maybe the algorithms are going to define it long-term for us. The artificial intelligence is going to define it long-term for us, in order there to be objectivity and no human being to be able to understand the borders. But whatever the algorithms are saying us, we are going to submit. But then there is a problem, because we are going to lose our authenticity. So instead of trying to conquer in reality, instead of trying to project some positions, yes, we have positioning as human beings. We are on the border, but we are neither taking the one side, neither taking the other side. What we need is only to be authentically, to be who we are on the border, knowing good and evil, but also to authentically express ourselves, and then our expression is going to do the job. And you are going to see now what is the meaning of love. Nothing to prove. It is something that a lot of us are doing in the quadrant number 3, where is the humanity and where we are fighting with each other, which of us is more right about something, and we are just trying to prove. I'm not just trying to prove to you now something. I'm just expressing myself and how I'm ruling my reality, and why this is helping me to long-term understand, accept distinguishes, and never to go into this imagination of the mind that if we obliterate everything, then we are going to experience the wholeness and the oneness, because then life stops to actually exist. So instead of trying to prove, what we need to do as human beings is just to be aligned, and then let the universe and let the creators validate us. So desire to be validated, desire to be aligned, and then you don't need to prove. So In the quadrant number 2, where is our body, we the human beings are just willing to heal. We're just willing to intervene. We are even willing to obliterate the borders between the human and the artificial. We want to create such a structure that actually health is not going to be a problem anymore. But for me personally, what is important, we as human beings to stay as much as possible into our border zone positioning and to understand that health is coming from the inside out. I'm in the pharmaceutical industry and I know what is the meaning of intervention and why it is helping a lot, but actually at the expense of the human being developing itself from the inside out. So, what is important in creation is to understand that transmutation of destruction is done by the death and the resurrection, and actually by the expression of love. We don't understand as human beings why love is sacrificial. We don't understand as human beings a lot of things about this, but long term, this is the only solution for obliterating and transmutating evil into good instead of trying to mix good and evil and create an amalgam in our societies. So let me now give you some specific examples. You see, we are border zone creatures and we have the first conflict between the internal and the external. Then we have the conflict between me and you, the individual and collective. We have the conflict between the common good and my personal good. So we will always be in conflict, but you need to understand how to manage your reality. And also there is one more conflict, which is between the limitless one that is inside of you and the daily limitations you are experiencing into your zones of reality. But instead of fighting them, or instead of trying to conquer, instead of trying to defend yourself, just understand how reality is and then learn to move forward. So in the quadrant number 1, it is inside our head. We have awareness, perception, consciousness, subconsciousness, dreams, visualizations, pattern recognition, predictability, projections, our intent, attention, focus, identity, desire, passion, urges, will, everything is there set and put for us and is long-term developing. And what is important to understand that there is also conflict in quadrant number 1. But Alex, what is the conflict in quadrant number 1? Nothing to defend. What are you defending? What am I defending in quadrant number 1? Well, Alex, I want to defend everything that is inside of me. This is the most important thing for me. My awareness, you don't understand, my consciousness, my dreams. I want to fight and to long-term live for my dreams. Yes, this is okay, but you don't need to defend to anybody. The only thing that you need to do in the quadrant number 1 is just to learn how to work with all of these concepts and long-term to understand the power of love that is always transmutating conflicts, because daily, in order change to be experienced within you, you are also experiencing conflicts in all of these areas, because when awareness, for example, comes to you of something more, you need to transform, to transcend, to outgrow, and to decide that something of you are going to let it go. You are going to stop defending some parts of your inner individual experience, but you are going to let go. Also, in the quadrant number 2, where is the expression of the I amness, the border zone creature which is neither in quadrant 1, neither in quadrant 2, neither the body, neither the so-called soul or the inside software that we have or everything that we have developed. It is very important in the quadrant number 2 not to try only, oh, Alex, I'm going to fix my body. I'm going to work for my body all my life because I'm going to fight every illness. I'm going to long-term be so healthy that I'm going to put all my energy into my body functionality to be strong and vibrant. But if you are trying to go and defend and only to seek after healing, then long-term you are going to miss it because everything is coming from the inside out. Your body is always expressing who you are in the moment. So then in the quadrant number 3, we are trying to prove, and we have nothing to prove, because I don't want to prove you that my religion is okay, better than yours, my beliefs are better than yours. No, the only thing I need in life is not to have better worldviews than you. The only thing I and you need in life is we to live such an interaction with reality, that reality is always validating what we are doing and that we long-term are beneficial and interacting type of creatures. So in the quadrant number 4, this is where all the wars are happening. This is where all the interest of humanity is going into. We want to dominate upon each other. There we see the conflict of wars, we see the conflict of who has more money, and so on and so on. And just to remember you what is happening in quadrant number 4, nothing to conquer. There in quadrant number 4, you need to be authentically you. And then if you authentically express yourself, everything else in reality is going to happen for you. You don't need to try to earn all the money in the world. You don't need to go and conquer reality, because the idea of reality is not to be conquered, but to always be aligned with who you are in all your 4 quadrants of reality. It doesn't matter if you are rich and poor in a sense. The only thing that matters in life, there are a lot of rich people that are not happy, not fulfilled, and so on, because if you try to conquer reality at the expense of all the other quadrants, then it is not enough. So the 2 basic tendencies that we as human beings are doing, one of the tendencies that is very popular in the moment in reality is to obliterate borders. A lot of people are going to tell you, well, Alex, if we just try to live in oneness, if we just obliterate the difference and distinguishes between good and evil, there is no good, no evil, no morals, it doesn't matter. We need to obliterate everything, and then conflict is going to stop. If we take away all the borders of the nations, if we take away all our differences, if we take away everything that is making distinguishes between us, then we are going to create the perfect utopian society. All of us are going to move around the world in white robes, and what is going to happen with us? We are going to be actually obliterated at the expense of the common good that some artificial intelligence or some algorithms are going to impose it on us. But then if we obliterate all the borders, you are going to see something very interesting. Love is going to disappear, because we are not going to need it anymore. Love is necessary when there are borders that need to be transmutated. Only when there is evil shown against me, only then there is a possibility for me to express unconditional life with which to actually transmutate this so-called evil. So the other option is the clarity and the clarification of distinctions. Well, Alex, but do you know how much problem is this creating in the world. All the problems in the world are coming because of the religions, because of these moral dogmas, and they are creating actually the conflicts, or even as you are saying that actually the conflicts have always been existing and they will not stop to existing. At least they are amplifying the conflicts, because now we as human beings, because of so many distinguishes, we are just fighting against each other. But you need to have the borders, and then if you don't like, if you dislike, if you hate, then the power of love is coming, and it is transmutating, it is changing, it is creating, melting, and so on, but not at the expense of obliterating borders, and not at the expense of obliterating the border zone creatures. It is very important because there are a lot of tendencies in society now. Alex, why should we have genders? If we don't have genders, if we obliterate, then we are going to have peace between the female and the male energy. We don't need two energies. We need only one energy. We don't need to have distinctions. And you can see then in the different areas of your personal reality and of the architect that are trying to manipulate reality, you are going to see these two tendencies. Some are trying to obliterate the borders. Others are also wrongfully trying to defend the borders or to be positioned from the one side or the other side. But actually, we need to be positioned always border zone creatures, that the only power we have is not to obliterate borders, but to transmutate everything that we consciously think that is evil, is not beneficial, into beneficial for all. So love is the transmutating weapon. Alex, now you are going to weaponize love. Why are you doing this? This is because love cannot exist if there is no conflict that is showing that love is necessary. It is very important to understand when and why love is necessary, because only love is the possible power to transmutate everything. So what is fate then? Fate is the materialization of the nothingness. If we go deep dive into reality in every aspect that you want to go, you are going to see that if you dissect more and more, there is going to be only nothing. Then faith is the substance that make the invisible to happen. Faith is the substance that is making all to be possible. And of course, all of us have different distinctions there also. We use faith in different ways, but actually what we are doing is that we take something of the nothing and we are just creating something into existence, or are empowering something, and so on and so on. So you need to know that these other things. Hope, it is making possible what is not possible now. Hope is also very important because this is what we is proving that we are limitless beings. Because if we were not limitless beings, we were never going to have hope that impossible is actually possible. So through the hope, we are actually transmutating limitations into limitlessness. And then love is the power that is actually transmutating conflict. Alex, this is something that is not imaginable. It is not possible. You can see now in 2022, we are now July, we are in the middle of a war, and so on and so on. What is your suggestions that now the two sides of the war are just starting to laugh each other, take away all weapons, and just clap hands and so on and so on. It is not possible. Yes, it looks like that this is impossible because we as human beings need to go more and more into consciousness, or the other solution that the world type of elite is trying to present to you. Okay, do you see now these type of conflicts are only showing us that we need to obliterate borders. We need to go into world government. We need to create something that is oneness, that is peace, that is symphony, that is synchronization, or whatever you want to say. But actually obliterating borders long term is going to create false appearance of peace. And there is going to be no necessity for love to exist, because love exists only if there are conflicts. So thank you for watching this deep dive, but it's very small thing of what I'm going to present into the webinar with much more examples. And it is going to be on the 17th of August, 2022. And then you are going to learn more about why in these times of conflicts, we need to use our power of enjoying love and showing it all the time and learning to transmutate everything that is not beneficial to us through love into benefit for all. So thank you for watching, and I hope you are going to enjoy long-term everything that I'm presenting, and that this is going to really help you.